Welcome to the goddamn boys and I. I'm your pal Jeremy.
I'm Joel Rubin.
Hi, I'm Brett. Oh, what the fuck? I just knocked my lemon into the microphone stand.
Quick mea culpa. I zested this lemon earlier this week, so it doesn't have a lot of structural integrity. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
okay.
pre-zested lemon.
Yeah.
Come on, Joel.
Tonight we're drinking strawberry basil gin smash. Woo!
It's unbelievably tasty.
It's unbelievably tasty. I can't believe it. I could spend the rest of my life trying to believe it, and I couldn't.
It's summer. It's officially. It's our first episode of summer.
Is it really?
So I thought a summer drink was in order.
Can you just dunk this whole boy in there? Or
Whatever
is
you
that
want to
weird?
do. Listen, it's
I kinda
America,
wanna get it in
ain't
there.
it?
It's a little too floppy.
It's a little floppy.
Yeah.
With starring freshly picked basil from my garden.
Wow.
What
Whoa! I
the
grew
frick?
this.
You have a garden?
The garden.
I would not be able to maintain a garden at all. My daughter is now in the phase of touching everything and putting everything into her mouth. Yesterday she touched a goddamn curling iron.
Oh my god.
Was it on?
Yeah.
How did she feel about that?
It was a fucking nightmare, and it will be a nightmare for the next 2 weeks.
I'll be honest, I'm a little worried that here, I mean, I feel like I need to sit right up here because I feel like my waveform is not high enough.
You gotta get right up in that boy.
I'm going to kiss the mic.
You gotta speak loudly.
What are we talking tonight? What am I going to talk about with the boys?
Well, Brett found a real humdinger of a story today.
Spicy boy!
Yeah.
I like when we're talking about topics, you don't know, we're trying to decide the show, and then some fucking rascal on Twitter just sets up the whole show for us.
Ooh,
Yeah.
lolly.
That old rascal Notch, that old swamp rascal from his lonesome perch.
Up atop a $100 million mansion that he sniped out from underneath Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Yeah, that billionaire rascal. Tweeting things, just getting himself in a mess of trouble, boys.
Yeah.
If you are not familiar who this fella Notch is, his real name is Marcus Persson, and he is the guy who made Minecraft, by which I mean he ripped off a different game, and then he said that he was the creator of a video game.
No, he's a genius, dude.
He's a visionary.
Wow.
Are we still doing the roster, or are we jumping right into that?
I say we jump right into it, because the last 2 times we've done a roster, we haven't delivered on all the topics that we've rostered up.
So we're gonna just dig right into the wet, wriggling belly of. I feel like. Do you want to set this up? I feel like I want you to be the the storyteller here, sort of setting this scene.
So traditionally, I have been the positive defender of most people on The Boys and I.
Yeah.
Between The Boys and I am El Positivo.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all going to be pretty much in agreement tonight about this story.
Yeah.
So let's just do a quick history of Notch.
Oh boy.
Well, just real quick to sort of catch everybody up on where we are with this guy. He built Minecraft. He started his company Mojang, and
Is that how you say it?
it is how you say it.
I've
Okay.
never once said it correctly in my whole life.
I've
I
always
mean-
said Mojang.
I've
I-
met him, and I will never.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we'll get into that.
Blech.
I'm sure later.
Right, well, we already learned one new thing.
Yeah, we did.
Mojang, or that Brett has met. Notch.
Oh, 2 new things.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. So he founded Mojang, and he created Minecraft and
I thought it was pronounced Minecraft.
Minecraft, and it became wildly popular online, and eventually it sold to Microsoft for an obscene amount of money, over $1 billion. And Notch left the company. I think in retrospect, it might not have been something that he... other people might have wanted him to leave, it seems like at this point, knowing what we know about him. After he left the company, he got a huge payout, obviously, and moved to LA, bought a baller mansion in the Hollywood Hills, and spent the next couple of years
A
throwing...
mansion that kind of reshuffled the deck on how much mansions cost.
We will
here.
I want to get into that as well,
Yeah.
because that is another aspect of this conversation. He paid $100 million for this mansion, which at the time was a record in the U.S. for a sold house, or at least in L.A. And he spent the last couple of years throwing parties. But what he's also been doing, and I stopped following him on 3 years ago, but what he's also been doing is slowly being more vociferously a gamer bro.
Uh-oh.
And I don't necessarily know if I would say that he's a gamer gator, but he certainly has become significantly more openly misogynistic on Twitter.
What is it about Minecraft that does that to people?
Well,
It seems like every Minecraft person, whether it be a player or a developer, eventually becomes an edgelord.
and they get released as their inner 14-year-olds. Like before, little boys were forced out into the world, and they just sort of lived in their own little heads. They were all, I mean, we were all shitbags when we were 13 or 14-year-old, and I guess it regresses your brain.
Some of these personalities are kind of like Pokemon evolutions, where it's like you're like non-socially adapted kind of gamer nerd can evolve into tech bro. You know what I mean? Like he goes into his pupa and he comes out and he's like, men's rights. So that might have been what happened. Also, if you see me reacting to things in this episode, it was like
bugs.
It's like the Mummy for a second, where like I was being pelted by whatever this June bug type beetle is. One flew into my microphone and one like, ooh,
that's a big old bastard right there.
They make sounds when they hit you. They go, punk. So that's why I was like, Jeremy saw it. I was like,
all that means is that my garden is well fertilized by nightlife or something.
They're very charming, but
ooh, that sounds gross.
Chili, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know.
Where's that?
But anyway, earlier this month, which is June of 2017, he tweeted out that Zoe Quinn, who is an independent games developer and is a controversial figure for several reasons, he just tweeted out he called her a cunt. And I'm just going to say the word out loud because that's what he called her. It's not a pleasant word, and I don't use it at all in my everyday conversation.
We're not offended by it, Joel.
You're not, but I feel like some of our viewing audience, including potentially my parents, might be. And some people reacted very poorly to that, and some people reacted sadly positively toward that.
What was the context for that? Because, like, why is he going after Zoe Quinn? What's she doing right now?
So, again, this story all popped up today, and I was trying to catch up on it, so I'm not 100, as usual on The Boys and I'm not 100% sure, and I might be talking to someone out of my ass, so I'm not going to specifically say what it was, because I might be wrong. But she had tweeted out something generically that he didn't like, but he didn't know that it specifically came from Zoe Quinn. And so he said, whoever said this is a cunt, and she was like, it was me, and then they got into a back and forth on Twitter.
He's kind of taken the stance of, he's sort of, if my own personal research and just things I've noticed is accurate, as you know, even last year he got into it with some feminists where he was like saying mansplaining doesn't exist, and that like he's very against gender division, stuff like that. It's like a real trigger for him. So like mansplaining doesn't exist because like women can explain things too. So mansplaining isn't real.
Doesn't he wear a fedora like in real life?
Yeah,
you better believe
he actually wears a fedora.
Yeah, verified.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you need to know there. But I guess we can keep talking about it.
Right. So like there was that conversation, and someone was like, sometimes you just need to shut up and listen. He's like, no one should ever have to shut up and listen. Where it's like he doesn't. It's like a very specific attitude towards that line of conversation. Where it's
right.
So then the Zoe Quinn thing is another thing where it's just like, third wave feminism, and then like this stuff today where it's just like he doesn't like the distinction of like, oh well, women need special protection, or like minority groups need special. Like it's like, he's like, that stuff divides us. We're actually one. So like, don't have gay pride, but like whatever. I don't want to jump the story.
No, that's okay. To complete the story, though, he apparently today, which was June 29th, was quote unquote heterosexual Pride Day, which is a direct, in direct opposition to June, which is Pride Month, LGBTQ Pride Month. And he tweeted out that it's heterosexual Pride Day, and if you don't believe in heterosexual Pride Day, fuck you, you're a cunt. He said again.
The exact words were, "If you don't believe in it, you should be rounded up and shot."
Right.
And then he was like, by a photographer with a gun.
So he got into a lot of hot water for this as well, and
for inadvertently recommending death camps for people that don't support heterosexual.
I don't think that was inadvertent. I think that was fairly advertent.
Yeah.
Well, if we take the extra step from his tweet, when I say inadvertent, I mean following forward the one step. But.
So there's a lot that we could jump off. So that's basically the story of where we are today. There's a lot we can jump off on. We can talk about. I mean, this was a guy who was universally beloved in the games community. He was an indie developer who had a smash success, who did the right thing. Like, he released a game in alpha that was super cheap, and you had access to the game through, if you bought it in alpha, you had access to the game through launch. You didn't have to buy it again. The company provided regular updates on the game. People loved him. He allowed free modding. He allowed you to run your own private servers. I mean, the gaming community really did love him for a long time. And now he certainly, I think, among most developers has become persona non grata. A lot of developers I saw tweeting today saying, if you work with this person, if you have contact with him, if you associate with him, you're kind of garbage.
So this is my perspective, just as a blanket statement on this whole thing, is this is why social media can be more of a curse than a benefit, I think, because here's a guy who's really good at making and releasing and monetizing video games, right? That is not a reason to be listening to what he has to say necessarily. But because of what he's accomplished and because of what technology is available, we have all given him the rope with which to hang himself. And I don't know that he would have ever even come to those conclusions or had those thoughts if he didn't have this I don't know, like bounce board to keep throwing stuff out and getting responses from. Because, there's probably like thousands of people out of the millions that follow him that are like, yeah, man, you're right, dude, And it's like, if he would have had a thought kind of like that, and like maybe he was seeing this like all lives matter thing and be like, I couldn't feel like that way about like gay dudes, man, and like said that in real life to somebody who actually knew him, they might explain to him why that's stupid, but because there's no one that's going to do that, he's only going to encounter like arguments or people telling him that he's right.
I think that's
he's going to lean into the people that are telling him he's right.
I mean, I think that's a solid point about just the internet. Not just social media, but the interactions with the internet in general, is that it allows you to distance yourself from actual human beings, and I think it's easy to self-radicalize. Brett and I met Notch in 2010 or early 2011. Early 2011, I think. Maybe, I don't know, it doesn't matter. It was right around then. And the game, that was right when Minecraft was just blowing up on YouTube. Like, it was, not everybody was doing Minecraft videos yet, but everybody was watching like 4 or 5 people just destroy with them. And we went out to dinner with him and a few other people, and he was soft-spoken, polite, fairly reasonable, wore a fedora, but he wasn't
He was engaged then, I believe.
He was engaged.
His wife would travel around with him.
This thing's like a flying corn nut.
That's what I'm saying.
Just flick him.
It's so big.
It's so big.
Just flick him.
I don't want to hurt it.
Why not?
Because it's weird as shit. I've never even seen this
We
thing.
discovered a new bug
What
species.
is it? Does it bite?
Probably.
Cool.
It's like
But
a
anyway,
beetle.
like the person that we met then
Get
was
outta
a
here,
soft-spoken, quiet dork who was like kind
I
of
wanna flick
being
him.
shell-shocked by, I think, his sudden overnight success, and quite frankly, he had never done interviews before. He had come over to Machinima. I think we were his first live stream ever.
Yeah, that was a big deal or whatever.
And
So it's pretty much your fault if you think about it.
it is our fault. But he was a reasonable person because, when you talk to people face-to-face, for the most part, if you can get them one-on-one, like, they're reasonable. I agree with your point that it's easy to become a shitlord online, and like especially when you can reach people who just blanket agree with what you say, no matter what it is.
People don't blanket agree with what he says.
People are not agreeing with
everybody
him at all.
doesn't. Not everybody agrees, but there are for sure people that agree with him.
I'm
That's
sure
why he's saying this shit.
There's got to be thousands of people being like, "Yeah, don't listen to them, man. You're right." Like when you have that many followers, I think everybody just.
He's at 3.5 million followers, something like that.
I feel kind of conflicted about it because I don't agree with him at all. We'll get into the details of what he's talking about pretty soon here.
He has a lot of followers, but his engagement isn't insane.
That is true.
I've done tweets this week that get more engagement, so it's not. You can have those numbers.
That's very popular on Twitter.
But like,
I feel like it's almost like making fun of somebody who has like a mental problem, right? Like. I don't know much about the guy, right? He's obviously really good at programming, but I everything that I've heard tells me he's maybe not the best at communication, right? So here's a guy who thinks that he must say everything that pops into his head. This is how people that kind of get addicted to Twitter are. Every fucking thought that pops into their head, they type it. Not every thought you have is good. I have so many thoughts that should not be shared and will never be shared, and I have the common sense to go like, I should probably think that through before I tweet that, or maybe I should just not be tweeting.
Yeah.
But this guy does not have that filter, right? And his like, mental imbalance or whatever is like out here on the internet, and everyone is just fucking dogpiling and crucifying him.
But I
take exception with all of this. But you start.
No, like I kind of do too. Like, all right, so he might be mentally imbalanced. But
First off, the assumption that Notch is mentally imbalanced because he has an unpopular opinion that he's happy to share. Then
look,
a great percentage of people on Twitter and on my Twitter feed are mentally unbalanced.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get in the business of diagnosing him. What I will say, though, is if somebody is mentally imbalanced, that doesn't give them carte blanche.
I'm just trying to find a nice way to say he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
okay.
But
being
mentally imbalanced doesn't give you carte blanche
No.
to be a fucking idiot and to not suffer the repercussions of what you say.
There's so many people are fucking idiots, right? And they're gifted this miraculous success, and they don't know that they're a fucking idiot, and so they go on there running their goddamn mouth all the time, and I kind of feel like people get off, they get a thrill from destroying that person and punishing them for their idiocy, but like, I kind of feel like I want to do that too, but I also kind of feel like, what's the point, right?
Well, I just don't have anything
we're constantly just converging like Voltron to fucking attack the living shit out of some dumbass idiot for having a stupid, unpopular opinion. But what does that achieve? It's just like it's like. We always complain about call-out culture, and then we are participating in it.
But what did it... all right, Brett wants... I think, Brett, you want to say something?
Follow up on this. Mine it's going to be a divergent exploration.
Here's what it achieves. It shows the people that agree with him that this is not an opinion that should be stated or held. It like, converging on something like this and stomping them into their beat and saying, no, this is not socially acceptable is really important. Like, that kind of reaction... To
fill you in, too, also, just... For context, for what Joel's going to continue saying here, he tweeted these tweets, responded to some people, was kind of like, heh, and then everyone was just, like, shitting on him all day, and then he deleted the tweet and was like, all right, well, thanks for showing me when I'm a cunt, but, like, don't expect me to learn anything. Notchy never learns. I'm just that, I'm such a rascal. I'm such a edgy dude that, like, who knows what I'm going to say next. So, like, the piling on worked from a perspective of, like, assuming you're taking him at face value, he was like, oh, I put who I thought I was as a person ahead of a perspective that I couldn't understand. And those are his words in a tweet. So, but now go on. That's all I'm saying.
But like, imagine who is Minecraft's prime, like truly their prime audience is children.
Yeah.
And imagine if you're a child who follows the creator of my favorite video game on Twitter, and you see him say shit like this, and you're like, oh, I guess this is a cool thing to say. No, it's not a fucking cool thing to say. People like that deserve to be piled on, and I think that they're like in. Sometimes the court of public opinion gets out of hand and attacks the wrong person for the wrong reason, and I think we can get into some of that with, if you want to, the Anita Sarkeesian.
You're totally right.
I was talking about the NRA thing.
I was trying really hard to like kind of come up with some reason why we shouldn't all be dogpiling on him, but the fact that he's fighting back, even though he knows he's wrong on some level, makes it even more annoying. And the fact that it's a game for children, it makes it even more unbelievable that the thought would even cross his stupid fucking mind to even say that kind of shit. It's so irresponsible.
And he would say, I'm not associated with the game anymore. I don't work for Microsoft or Mojang.
He says that. He's like, I don't even get royalties.
Then delete your Twitter account because that's why everyone's following you. That is that's not an excuse. That's like the creator of fucking Blue's Clues going on there. He'd be like, you know what's wrong with fucking black people? It's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, you just figured out Blue's Clues, I think. Brett, what's your tangent?
No, I mean, look, I just think, like, examining anything nowadays is like the Russian nesting doll of, like, you have to unpack it through so many fucking bullshit levels, right? But, like, you're right. Like, there's too much witch hunting on Twitter. It's too easy for some fucking dipshit says something stupid, and then everyone's like, ha, here's my content for the day, ha, 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 ha. And, like, but, like, I also think, like, you don't have to describe, like, he's, whatever, he's, mentally ill. It's like, I'm sure a part of his mind is, like, everyone knows me from Minecraft, but I want to be this guy who, like, represents more than that. And I want to be able to, like, this, like, my interpretation of, like, this, like, weird edgelord tendency where he's like, I'm going to really say some shit, I'm really going to stir it up. And so that, like, intention to wade in and, like, into the mosh pit and be like, can you believe this? You know what? If you don't support this, you can just fucking die. I'm wild, man. You never know what I'm going to say. And to fail so spectacularly because you're not, like, a sophisticated, like, intellectual in regards to, like, your approach, you're just like, hey, let me just bait a bunch of people, get shit on, and then just, like, slither back into like my
I
little
don't
lair.
think there
No,
are
wait, let
many
me-
sophisticated individuals.
Well, sorry. So
I'm not saying-
let me spin,
I know.
and I do not agree with what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Let me spin a devil's advocate
Mhm.
explanation that Notch probably tells himself and that he genuinely probably believes.
Yeah.
I think Notch probably believes that he's not a misogynist. I think Notch probably believes that he's a coder bro. He's like a rich, probably libertarian weirdo, but he's somebody who probably says to himself, I don't see color. I don't see gender. The playing field should be level and equal, which is an admirable statement.
Where's he from?
He's from, you don't see color because you're from fucking Sweden.
Yeah.
There are no
okay.
people of
Just
color
checking.
in Sweden. And I'm sure some person of
This
color
is-
in Sweden is
this is
going
a
to
pop-
be
this
like,
is a-
excuse me.
Also, he didn't say that. This is
No.
us
No.
spitballing.
But I'm sure that I would argue, as the devil's advocate, that he might believe that he says to himself, there should be a level playing field, and trying to advance the agenda of one group of people, whether it's women or whatever, above anybody else, leads to division. And that is an argument that he kind of did try to make today, is saying, I'm not looking to divide us. I think
we are one.
gay pride,
His words.
yeah, like we are one. Like pride divides us. Advancing women's rights divides us, or whatever.
I'll never understand people whose argument is we can't elevate one type of person above other people when you're talking about a marginalized group that's constantly
Right.
being pushed down.
So that's the point.
You're
Is
just
that
trying to bring them to the same fucking level. And also,
He-
why is everybody got to be so inclusive? Right?
he has a
People that hate inclusivity are always crying about their own inclusivity.
a highly educated white man from a Scandinavian country is not in a position to delegitimize somebody's experience, especially because he doesn't have any. He has zero perspective. He has no perspective on what
By his own admission.
by his own. So he should shut the fuck up.
And I also want to take I do take exception to the fact that Twitter is the cause of his thoughts. He has those thoughts. It is the rope that allows you to hang yourself. But if you have common sense and a sense of self-awareness and I'm sure he is a smart guy or whatever, but it's you're not thinking through the end result. You're just I'm gonna fucking stir shit up, and it's my Twitter's dumb as shit, but most of my tweets are predicated on the thought that I'm self-aware. I'm thinking about how it will be interpreted, and is this is this the entertaining reason they probably followed me? And when you think about the reason why people follow you, even in your own careers, I'm sure you've thought about this, where you're oh well, X people they want for me, right? Right now I'm is it cow chop related, or is it lifestyle shit that kind of filters into this? I'm not out here trying to get political every day because I've got a platform that I'm going to try to warp to some other agenda.
Yeah, I to a certain extent agree, and to a certain extent disagree too.
Right.
I mean, I'm not and I'm sure he would say this too, is that I'm not going to be I'm not going to be somebody that I'm not for Twitter. I'm not going to
Sure.
provide a false front, and I am going to speak out against certain things that I think are really important. And I have legitimately tweeted, if you thought that following me was just going to be hilarious, funny game jokes and funhouse memes, you've
Right.
come to the wrong Twitter account.
Right.
This is a full Joel experience. You're going to get Broadway jokes. You're going to get some lefty liberal shit. You're going to get some anti-Trump stuff. You're going to get some game stuff. You're going to get me making fun of the entertainment industry. But it's everything.
Right.
But there's never going to be even when I tweet out anti-Trump stuff, it's always more about the agenda, and it's never about the people. It's never, if I tweet an ad hominem attack and somebody points it out to me, I try to rectify that immediately. And you know what? Those are calling Trump a lazy shit, lazy fat orange faced shitbag is an easy thing that I shouldn't be doing. That's not why I don't like him. I don't like him because of his policies. And that's if Notch has genuine problems with advancing certain agendas, that's what he should be talking about, not being issuing an ad hominem attack and saying these people are cunts, or
It's
they
just
should
very-
be shot, or whatever.
It's so
it is.
childish for a grown man, especially one who has achieved that level of success, to be acting like a teenager. You become an edgelord when you're 14, and you're wow, shock value gets me a lot of attention. I want attention. and you don't really think about the repercussions or the results that come from that, right? What the fuck is a grown man doing that for?
He has $1 billion and he's bored in a house by himself, and he doesn't really have any true
He's
friends
probably
anymore.
by himself because he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, no,
Well, on this thread, too, he goes out of his way to make sure everybody knows. He doesn't really care about your opinions. He's like, maybe I would be more articulate if I actually cared about what you thought about my thoughts, but, like, that's just me, man. That's what you get. It's the real deal. And it's like, that's pure edgelord, dude. And that's why I'm like, I don't care who fucking piles on you. Like, if that's your approach, is you're just, like, too fucking hip for the fucking crowd, then, like, good. Let the crowd shit in your mouth. Like, I'm not going to defend you.
And it's such a cop-out to say, well, I don't care about your opinions. Well, you kind of, like, you should be yourself, but you should care about what
You
other
do
people
it. You
think.
deleted the
Yeah.
tweet. You must care about something.
If you
Sorry.
cared more about being yourself than what people think about you, you would be yourself by yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you'd be happy.
Anyways, I think the platform's great. I agree with
I
you
love
that
Twitter.
people have like a megaphone now, but like there's a lot of good shit being shit out through the megaphone and a lot of weird, unpredictable shit that like I don't want to like blame the megaphone for the asshole who picks it up and like abuses it or whatever. Like,
Yeah. I want to thank Brett for introducing
I'm
me
not-
to Weird Twitter. Weird Twitter is like, I don't follow
The
enough
joy
weird
of my
Twitter
life.
accounts, but it's like, it's one of my favorite things about Twitter. It's like the weird-ass, hilarious
I'm on
shit.
the fence
that's out
about weird Twitter.
there. Oh, you
Weird,
shouldn't.
weird
Why?
Twitter. Weird Twitter is like that person who's like, I'm so random. I'm just so random. You never know what I'm gonna do.
I think
I'm
your
so
phone,
that's
your
random.
phone.
bad weird
Yeah, that's
Twitter.
bad weird Twitter. There's good weird
It's like
Twitter.
all weird Twitter.
That's like
I like
comedy
it, I
though. It's
follow
like
it. Yeah.
it's like, oh, the class clown trying to make you be wacky in class.
Oh,
It's
the artist trying to make art.
I don't,
Oh,
I
the
don't,
filmmaker trying to make films.
right.
I'm not saying it's Twitter's responsibility or that they're doing something wrong or that it's bad that it's there. I'm just saying it's alarming how many people fuck it up. And it's
that's
not just
the
Twitter,
thing.
but it's just social media in general. Like
Yeah.
so many
Right.
people like achieve a certain level of success, and then they go like, it's like everyone is listening to me. Now's my chance, and then they go like, here's something really misogynistic or racist. What do you think?
And
It's
just
like, all of that work to
Yes.
achieve that, and that's what you're gonna do with it.
it's all about
That's so
tone
stupid.
and rhetoric, right? Like on a certain level, let's say like I'm not trying to beat him up because he has those ideas because he's like in a lot of people's opinion, ignorant about the thing, right? Like, if he wants to have a discussion about it and voice those opinions and, like, have conversations, great. But, like, everybody is on this quest to, like, outdo each other and, like, oh, you fell for my bait? Dude, I was just fucking baiting you, you fucking idiot. I'm just repeating your rhetoric back at you.
Yeah.
The fucking, like, echo chamber of, like,
The troll
think
society.
speak, trolling, gaslighting, like, hey, if you don't believe me, go kill yourself. Dude, I'm just fucking with you. I'm being ironic. It's like, just trying to have a sane conversation.
Well,
It's like
That's
you're
not
gonna
even
say that
Twitter.
pranks
So,
are a
I-
social
that's-
experiment.
that's a great jumping off point. So now we can fork in the road. We can either pivot to Anita Sarkeesian from there, which is a whole other.
Did we ever even say
bag
what
worms.
he even tweeted or what?
Yeah, Brett did.
yeah, and I'll,
Okay.
maybe,
Or
maybe
we
I'll
can-
send you. I can send you these screen caps if you feel like dropping them in. But like, we recap it.
Or we can go back to how Notch fucked over the luxury LA real estate
No,
market.
here's what I
which is
want. Here's what I think.
fascinating
Here's what I think we should do. I think we should move forward. I want you guys to do the Anita Sarkeesian, but then I think we should also hit NRA because I think that's also like
too. Oh yeah,
rhetoric
yeah.
and shit.
So,
but you
all right,
take yours.
That's great. So, well, no, you have watched more. You have watched more Anita Sarkeesian than I have, correct?
Yeah, I've been kind of following this thing for the last few years because it's just really interesting how there's this, there's Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian, and then there's, these sort of like gamer gators that they seem to like, they don't really make their own content necessarily. They just like wait for like Anita to say something, and then they just kind of like attack it.
So, all right. So, take us through again, like I did with Notch. Take us through a quick history of who Anita Sarkeesian is, why we're talking about her today, and what happened with her over last week in a big con.
So she does this thing called feminist frequency, where she talks about women and tropes in gaming, and whatever your feelings are on whether or not it's valid or questionable what she's doing. She did a Kickstarter and she made some money for it. It wasn't even like a crazy amount of money. Like, it's not anything that you would ever be offended on. It's like what some like edgelord YouTube fuck makes in like a day on Patreon, right?
She ended up making, I think, over $100,000 in her Patreon or Kickstarter. or
Over
whatever.
years.
Yeah. Yes, that's
know,
true.
And it's like, and she makes her content, and that's how she makes her living. She is one of the only female voices in the industry that really kind of gets placed on a lot of panels and like gets kind of like the official microphone, to talk about some of these problematic elements that exist in the industry. And she's not wrong. There's a lot of like weird stuff that's a holdover from a previous generation, and things have actually, and I'm not saying she's affected it, but I'm saying things have gotten a little better now. Like if you played like, hang on,
I think she has.
If you played like Horizon Zero Dawn versus like Resident Evil 4, like the way that they portray women in those two games is like night and day, right? And so
I would even argue that the difference between the Tomb Raider reboot and early Tomb Raider, like just take the same franchise.
Yeah, it's bananas,
Yeah.
right? Like it's grown in leaps and bounds, right? And yet, again, whatever you think about the content that she's making, even if she was a complete and total charlatan, right, and everything that she was doing was just like some really advanced form of edgelordery that we're just like not on the level of, where she's like, oh, I'm gonna like capitalize on like marginalized women. It's like, who would fucking do that? Who would put themselves in the position to be attacked and bullied and terrorized and threatened, to like advance an agenda of like a marginalized person?
So she puts out these videos.
Financial gain that's a pissant amount. So at the end of it.
No, I agree with you.
That's the history of it, right?
So she puts out these video essays about sexism, not even misogyny. Just here's how games over the course of their history have been sexist against women and have reduced women's roles in gaming, and it's pissed off a lot of guys.
It's pissed off a lot of guys.
Can you give me an example? What do they get mad
Some
about?
of her original videos were about like the concept of the damsel in distress.
Like Princess Peach.
Well,
is that what she did?
She does go there, but she also talks about stuff that's like little deeper cuts, like ghouls and ghosts and shit, like going back that far. But then she goes all the way into like modern era and talks about what's happening in video games now.
Okay.
Right? So it's it goes from like really obvious stuff to like more advanced stuff. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's like not really necessarily what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is she has the right to say it, right? And she's also not wrong. And things are moving in a positive direction generally.
I'm trying to see what the debate is.
That industry goes.
Okay, right.
So
debate is that there are specifically men who get upset anytime you question like their preconceived notions of anything.
Several years ago, as you know, gaming was like a rather insular environment, right? Sure. If you were a gamer and you identified as a gamer, you're like, I'm a gamer, I'm going to buy a t-shirt that says fucking gamer on it, Like, you knew everything about games. You felt like you had this little thing that, like, for people maybe our age, I don't know where younger people get this from, because it's like totally fucking ubiquitous now, and we can talk about that as a whole separate thing. But, I would get kind of made fun of and shit for like playing video games.
Yeah, I would never wear a shirt that said gamer.
Yeah, like you'd be like asking to get beat up. And it was like, you kind of suffered for your love of this thing. And it was the same with comic books and all this other shit back then. But being a gamer was something that you earned and something that you were really passionate about. And then all these people came around that like you weren't used to seeing, and they were kind of taking away that insular sort of special thing that you had from you. Is what I think they felt like.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of it was exploitative, right?
And telling you, listen, this might have been a good game, but here's the message that it was sending, and the message that it was sending was maybe not a positive message for 50% of the gaming audience, and they didn't like being told that they were wrong to maybe.
They didn't like
being
being told they were 50% of the gaming audience.
Well, I didn't like that either. Yeah.
Because at that time, it wasn't necessarily even true.
Right.
It became true over time.
Yeah.
Right. And they liked it the way that it was, and it started to change, and people don't like change. And again, if this were 10 years ago, I would kind of understand it a little bit more. I have to admit, there were times where when we were working at Machinima, when we first started, we would do casting, for example, and we get all these like models that would come in and be like, I love video games. I love fucking Pac-Man and like Mario.
Yes,
or like
did happen.
I like Zelda, and we'd be like, "What Zelda did you play?"
But I will also say, like it was not hard to find women in gaming who were just as excited about actual games as men. I think that was more of a product of we live in Los Angeles and there are a lot of
For
men,
sure.
men and women who are here who are actors who want to get jobs.
Yeah, no,
Remember when
I'm
Adrian Curry was gonna co-host Miss Cinema
but
Realm?
she did play World of Warcraft. Like
Yeah.
she was a fucking she played more than I did.
Aside from this conversation, it's a curiosity. What a strange road that would have been.
That would have been
Just
a
very
totally
different.
different life that you and I would have led.
Yeah, absolutely.
Partying with Adrian Curry and Peter Brady.
Yeah, we did one live stream with her, I think, as it stood.
That's
right?
who she married, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway,
Bizarre.
On what was that show? The Surreal Life.
it's
Yeah.
surreal life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look here. What
Okay, so
happened-
what actually happened though? We haven't gotten to the actual.
So at
event,
VidCon this past weekend,
Yeah,
she hosted a panel, and in the first 2 or 3 rows of the panel were taken up by a brigade of YouTube and internet trolls who, every time she releases something on YouTube, a video or something on Twitter, jump on her every statement and respond to her and threaten her.
and like debunk it and like basically
Well, debunk it.
Yeah,
and I'm
in their-
finger quoting debunking.
yeah,
it here.
that's the way that they describe it. They're like, yeah, we're like debunking this bullshit and we're like fucking making sure that like men have a voice.
So her
and,
panel,
like, gamers, you know.
so the first 2 or 3 rows of her panel were taken up by these guys, and she felt like it was a direct threat against her. They were recording her panel. As soon as the panel was done, they went up to their hotel rooms and recorded vlogs and uploaded them to YouTube channels. And eventually, VidCon security was a lot more restrictive about, who they let into the open. They started moderating the questions for her panels that weekend.
the main issue was that she basically got called out by one of these guys saying like, do you even fucking believe the bullshit that you said? And she's like, you are fucking human garbage. What are you even doing here? And then they all go and like complain like, she called me a name. She violated the terms of service, man. Get her out of here. And these guys, that run VidCon are like, what the fuck is happening? Which on some level to me feels really irresponsible, because if you're on the internet as much as these fucking guys are, you should have known not to allow this to happen. So
VidCon is like a parody of itself. I always knew it was shit, but this year, like, I'm
was a
so
complete-
sorry I
total
didn't
shit
go.
show.
Like, wow,
I
you
know,
were,
it would have
like,
been funny at
on
least.
parody. I would have seen so much accidentally. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way I wouldn't have witnessed some of it.
So I mean, it's
Wow.
I moderating questions and stuff. It's these guys are literally there to make this woman's life and women like her a living hell, and that's how they make their business. What a fucking pathetic way to make your business. It's so. These are the guys that think that they represent men, are guys that like have, for sure, never touched a woman.
Devote their
Ever
full
in
time
their
to
lives.
defending
I'll have you
video
know
games.
that I went on a date in 2006, and it was pretty hot, is what they would say to that.
I genuinely believe that they hate women because they do not understand them as people, and I don't think that they understand anybody that does not exactly reflect their own pathetic slug selves. And that's I don't know what more to say about it.
No,
than that. This is like this is the kind of thing where, even if you believed that women and like all these like normies are like new to gaming and like infiltrating your culture, and that shitty stuff is happening as a result of it, that there are shitty games and products and spin-offs, that is like directly in opposition of all the great and awesome things that are happening also, and the fact that somebody coming to something a little bit later than you maybe doesn't make it any less valid or make them any less of a fan.
And if anything,
And this is something that we talk about a little bit, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. If anything, it will make the thing that you like better, because it's going to make it richer, more nuanced, more flavorful. Like, indie games, the way that they are now, wouldn't exist without the incredibly diverse group of developers and programmers that are working on them now. People that weren't developers and programmers in the 1980s and 90s because there was no outlet for them.
it's like a cultural renaissance in the indie game market.
There's so many
There's
good
a lot
games
of dumb
out.
stuff, but there's like a lot of amazing stuff. Like I've been mostly playing indie games lately, and they're such unique experiences from a gameplay and story perspective.
Just as a side note, I waited until the Steam sale this summer, which is going on right now, to buy like 5 or 10 games that have been out for like 18 months, or some of them have been out for 18 months or so, but games that I've wanted to play for a long time. But I just haven't gotten around to, and I have no excuse now. Like they're $5-10, and so I bought a handful of them, and I'm really looking forward to playing.
Like, do you think like one neckbeard by himself would have made this war of mine?
No,
there's not a chance.
Or I mean, everyone has been raving about Ori and the Blind Forest. Obviously, there's gonna be a sequel. I'm like, that's one of the games that I haven't played. I've listened to the soundtrack. I'm so excited to play it. That is a game that, again, like these people, I should say, a lot of the criticism seems to come from people who play AAA titles who don't want anything but AAA gun shoot man titles, and
they're like the kind of guys that go watch Transformers and then complain about it.
They don't want, and I'm gonna say a trigger word for them: representation in games. They don't want people of color or women to be the heroes of a game. They don't want weirdness in their games, and that's just, I mean, to me, it's boring and it's bullshit, and it's why I don't play those games. Is because they're boring as shit to me. But the games that I bought and the indie games that exist because of the broader inclusion of developers, programmers, writers, artists. Like, that's a lot more what I'm interested in.
Have you tried playing, like, Gears of War lately or something like that? It's so fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's
no, I haven't. I have not tried to play Gears of War lately.
I just don't understand people that think they can get, like, the genie back in the bottle. Like, do you really, like, do they really think just, like, I'm gonna just hound everyone forever, waste my life, rather than supporting the things that, you know, maybe support your lifestyle or your fucking attitude or whatever. It's just like, you think you're gonna, like, what do you think? She's gonna one day be like, I was lying. It was all a joke. Like, it's just
I took
over.
all your money.
Like, the war, it's not just like, get a life. Just
they think that they devote their life to terrorizing this woman and people like her, that eventually they'll go away and things will go back to the way they were.
The entire culture
never fucking going to be the way they were again.
And
in fact,
it's not.
Can I make a request?
Yeah.
All right. I feel like we all agree that Gamergaters are assholes and stupid, and the whole situation is done. And Gamergate is, I get it, a separate issue. It's not about misogyny or sexism in gaming, although I would say that Gamergaters became wrapped up in that. However, we've agreed on the last two topics. Let's talk about something that we're not going to agree about. I don't know what that is right now.
I want to talk about the NRA thing.
Oh, well, we're going to agree about that, too.
Let's keep agreeing on
I don't always think it's about disagreeing on it as so much as, like, coming to different conclusions, right? Like, you can be like, Notch, your thoughts on Pride Day are completely wrong. But you could also be like, Notch, even if you feel that way, don't be an idiot. Be self-aware on your, like, social media presence. Be aware of who you are and your responsibilities to that, and, like, don't be a bitch. Don't be a fucking shitlord edgelord who
don't
just
try to use the goddamn Charles Barkley argument like it's 1993.
I'm not a role model.
Right.
Brett, set us up.
To the men's right activists, I say you're not bullying Anita. You're not gonna put the genie back in the bottle. Get a life. Apply yourself somewhere where you actually might have a change.
Or have a legitimate, like, again. All right, we will talk about the NRA thing, but and we can talk about this as well. My whole thing is, you can disagree with somebody. I don't have a problem if you disagree with somebody. Have a policy debate. Have a real debate about the issue, like the issues that you're talking about. Or what about what she says upsets you? What about, like, what she's advocating makes you, like, do you disagree with?
Just debate her, dude.
That's what they think that they're doing. I would say go one step further. She doesn't make content about them. Yeah. She never, like, talks about these people and shit. None of these fucking people do, right? Like, if you really feel that passionate about your culture, make videos or games or whatever about your culture and leave other people the fuck alone. I think we talked about this, like, in our last podcast. It's just like, just fucking leave people alone. If it's not directly harming you, don't make it your business to terrorize people who don't have fuck it all to do with you. It's like declaring yourself. It's like if you were like a sports team and you declared yourself the rival of some other sports team, but they had never fucking heard of you. You know, like, you're not that person's rival. Like, no matter how hard you try, it's just not going to happen.
Find a worthy combatant in your fucking your war or whatever, someone who wants to engage you, and then debate the shit out of them, and actually have, like, a war of, you know, ideas. Like,
they have to at least acknowledge that, like, here is, like, a segment of the population that is trying to, like, claw their way in to something that you love because they also love it and, like, want to enjoy it and want to do it with you. And instead you go like, no, it's mine. It's like, that's something a fucking 2-year-old would do. They're like, no, me,
you don't
mine.
See football fans getting upset with a woman who likes, like, tennis, you know? because sports is a very broad category with lots of different
And
kinds
they
of sports
certainly
for
wouldn't
lots of
get
different
mad
audiences.
if the woman liked football. You'd be like, cool, we can watch football together.
Yeah, rad.
You know? But
All
again,
right.
these guys are limp dick fucking, slugs that...
You don't know if their dicks are limp.
They're rock hard
Okay.
for their passion
Fantastic.
for pure gaming. All right. Well, anyways, so yeah, just to qualify, we can be in agreement, but I think you can
All right.
you can
Sure.
take it down different levels. So, the NRA thing though, who wants to set that up?
Well,
I feel like
this
you
is
should.
No,
'Cause you,
this is you.
well, I want to talk about it, but you're the one that's seen the most of the videos and stuff, so you might have a perspective for it.
I had been working on a documentary a while ago, and I sort of ran afoul of these, and I was watching a bunch of them, and they're fucking crazy. Dude, like, these NRA videos are basically like, the liberals want to take your guns, they want to take your freedom, they are protesting, what? And like, they just say whatever they want. Don't you think we should just like fucking kill them with our guns? Right? Like, how dare they protest and complain about shit? Let's fucking kill them, basically. And then it's this woman who's like really
So
stern.
today,
She's like,
on
"We are
June
the
29th,
NRA."
a video was released, and this woman is.
This is
speaking
not a
in
new
the
video.
This
This
is not a
video
new
was
video.
released in April.
Wait, really? Why
Yeah,
did
the
it blow up today?
The video's been around for a while.
Because
So
I saw it today, independent of yeah.
I saw this video months ago.
It was
it's
released
not the only one.
in April. Well, the one we're talking about, so there's a video, the specific video that Jeremy is referring to is one that was released in April, which is like the whole, like, the fist of truth, which really specifically targets protest culture, things like that. Hey, the left is using all these tactics to turn everyone against the police do their job and, like, fight back, and then they use that for further outrage. Clench the fist of truth and stand up if you're a gun owner, and you gotta do what you gotta do.
Which is so...
wink, wink.
I think people were really sharing that because of Philandro Castro. And
Philando Castile.
yeah. And,
Right.
and the fact that he was, like, a legitimate, like licensed...
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, I have a gun.
He
I
should
ha-
be
you know,
he should be
fine.
an NRA poster boy, but
Right.
because he's a black guy, he gets killed by the cops and they don't say shit, right? And when they talk about their, like, closed fist of justice or whatever, fucking smoking people for protesting, those people are protesting because cops are fucking killing black people, like, in record numbers, or at least we're, like, hearing about it in record numbers. Maybe we just didn't know, and it's always been going along, which is probably more likely.
So
But it was posted in April, but it has been recycled because of this thing. So it's being posted as, like, news stories, like a new video. So a lot of people probably think it literally just came out.
video,
Exactly.
Dude,
But
they have
that's
this
the
other
rhetoric.
video where it's targeted to women, and they're like, they're fucking gonna get you. They're following you. They're gonna get you. They're gonna rape you and take your guns and, like, fucking kill
one
you
way or
unless-
another,
unless
they're gonna
you fucking-
get you.
Yeah, it's like a Blondie song, and so they're basically saying, like, carry a gun with you at all times, and if anybody looks at you funny, you fucking kill them.
Right.
It's
Just
crazy.
fear
It's
culture.
It's this fear mongering, like, very paranoid shit. But they're so serious about it, like, so serious. And the fact that they take umbrage at peaceful protesting and stuff and try to make it look like it's riots and shit.
One of you said today, we were talking about this video, and one of you said today, and I thought it was really accurate, that this is an American ISIS video. If you watch this video...
I didn't say that, but
Did you say that, Jeremy?
I implied it. I didn't use those exact words,
I think you
but
did say that.
I think we were talking about, at that point we were talking about the Gilead 2.0.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Which is a real thing. There's, like, all these, like,
It's just-
quiverful people who are, like, they procreate as much as possible and send their weaponized, like, brainwashed religious zealot children into the world to, like, do more damage. And they're, like, literally in our government. They're all over the place, and they want to, like, they want to basically murder.
you're veering.
Like,
You're veering.
yeah,
We're
you're
veering
going
hard, Jeremy. Pull you back into.
But anyway,
they're
but-
our version of, like, a
but this
fucking
video-
ISIS caliphate.
but this video, to me, felt like a recruitment video for a terrorist organization.
It did.
And even in I was reading a lot of the comments for the video. A lot of the comments were saying, "I'm an NRA member, and this video does not represent, like, how I feel as a gun owner about the Second Amendment." And we'll put maybe a link, and are we gonna put a link in the description? Sure, I guess.
Yeah.
This video,
It'd be nice.
so you can watch it. Like, it's a scary video, and I think that.
Just don't tell them who sent you, because I don't want them looking at our shit.
It's the kind of thing that only raises everybody's hackles, and to get back to an earlier point, like, creates division. Like, this is a video that's not like, hey, I could get behind a policy debate about guns, about why people should have guns, or why people should, why the Second Amendment is important for certain things. But what this is, it is a fear-mongering video using imagery and language that specifically doesn't encourage, but kind of winks at the audience to attack people that don't agree with that they don't agree with, like liberals,
guns.
Specifically liberals, and attack them with guns. And it's scary and it's gross. And if a black person had, if the NAACP had released that video, or if the Black Panthers had released that video, you better believe there would be an investigation into them. But this is the NRA, and it was a white woman in the video, and that nobody is saying shit. Now, like, individuals, the private citizens are saying stuff, but nobody is saying shit about this. But there would be an investigation if it were a, like, Muslims for Handguns group, or NAACP or something like that. And it's gross, and it feels like a white terrorist group to me.
Here's the problem, though.
There can't be division if we're all one, right? That's
Thanks,
what Notch says.
Yeah.
The problem is, though, that the argument is that the exact opposite is true. So the woman in the video, her name is Dana Lash, and she has like 500,000 followers on Twitter. She's a conservative. She's like a radio talk host. She's an author. But she's like well known, and she does a lot of stuff with the NPR. And she did a Periscope
with the what?
I said with the NPR, but I meant the NRA.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
With the NRA. And she did a Periscope stream, after people started responding to this and stuff. And she was like, one, this is old. I don't know why everyone's getting up about it, but, like, whatever. And her whole argument was that, like, you're mad at us, but, like, we're just repurposing the language of the left. Like, you think you can just riot and burn things because of, of police, whatever. Well, like, we're using your language against you. Oh, the fist of truth? Well, that's just, like, your resist fists. Like, we're just using it back against you. And it was like frustrating to watch. And she was just droning on and on with that, like, super condescending tone that just, like a harpy. But, like, her whole point was that, in her mind, she was using the language of the left, the what do they always say? Like, oh, the tolerant left and repurposing it for the NRA. Now,
did the host that she was talking to go like, okay, cool, everyone will stop protesting if you'll just, like, maybe stop shooting unarmed black people all the time?
There was no host. There's a Periscope stream of her talking down to her phone in a very, if you think women can't mansplain, absolutely. She was kind of doing it. But here's what I think when we get back to the point about rhetoric, right? So, like, Alexandria, Virginia, right, the shooting, where Ted fucking Nugent, that happens, and he goes, all right, you know what? Me, Ted Nugent, who famously said, like, suck on my machine gun, Hillary Clinton or whatever, I'm going to tone down my rhetoric. You'd be hard-pressed to find a harder supporter of gun rights, whatever, in this country. Ted Nugent is like, I'm going to tone it down. It's dangerous. People are getting hurt. I'm going to try my best to backtrack it, and if I'm in a situation where that hate comes up, I'm going to exit the conversation. Ted Nugent.
Wow.
So when you've got Ted Nugent doing that,
if Ted Nugent is being more reasonable than you are fucking up.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that's the thing, I think, is, like, the tone starts to cool and people are like, okay, that's fucked up. Like, yeah, let's step it back. Let's be reasonable. And then, it's like the NRA has to, it's got that certain expectation of, like, here's the culture. No. This is a dangerous world, and you need. And look, I'm not anti-gun rights at all. Like, it is a fucking dangerous world, and I thought about getting training and investigating those things. Where you're like, oh, concealed weapon, is it right? Is it something that I should look into for my safety? Whatever. My point is, like, you can do that and be responsible with the rhetoric. You can read the tone of the room and be like, this isn't helping, and, like, I don't think the video is helping. And look, the NRA's obligation to maintain the culture where they got the money coming in and people feeling it and the culture of fear, like, it's fucked. And I think that woman her opinion is fucked. Because, again, Ted fucking Nugent is toning down his rhetoric. And I'm sorry, but, like, nothing she says, outdoes that. It's like, yeah, let's just fucking be reasonable. Let's read the tone of the room. Let's step it back. Let's not create situations that like urge people to be like, no, I got to go kill a bunch of Republicans today, or a bunch of liberals today, or anybody today.
Also, there's this whole and this is a whole other issue, but there's this whole mistaken thing, this idea in this video that like liberals are saying that cops are shooting black people, right? And cops are just doing their job, and cop lives matter, and nobody is saying that cop lives don't matter. That's not the issue. What people are saying is, and protesting against, and this is part of the footage in the video is maybe just don't shoot people that shouldn't be shot.
Maybe don't shoot an unarmed guy in the back and get away with it.
Maybe, like there was a video.
But even then, though, it's like the rhetoric, right? Because then it's like Black Lives Matter steps up, like, what do we want? Dead cops, and it's like, no, stop.
But that's not Black Lives Matter as a movement. That is a person.
But I'm saying all it takes is that rhetoric shift for anybody to not be on top of your rhetoric game and push it. And it's like,
oh my god, we should get a person of color on this podcast. Oh my god,
we need
talk show.
When we started, the white boys and I, we had one mission. No chicks, no minorities.
Jeremy, you're kind of a person of color.
Yeah, Jeremy and I are. I mean, we're,
Yeah.
I'm halfway. You're halfway, right?
And I'm Jewish.
And you're Jewish.
Yeah, no, we're like the Rainbow Coalition.
Anyways, that's not my whole point about it, and why I want to get back to NRA. It's like rhetoric. And nowadays, it's just like the echo chamber where everyone feeds off of every last fucking injury inflicted by the other side and then uses as further justification. It's like the
goddamn Hatfields and the McCoys,
really?
Man.
It fucking is.
Yeah, dude, we're straight up in some Romeo and Juliet type shit, and all we can do is just
bite our thumbs.
Peace. Yeah. I hate the word, as I hate all Montagues. What and the? What's the other? Whatever. Fuck it. I was close.
Don't like Romeo.
It's just a good line, Joel.
But is that what we want for our country? Like we want to be like reduced to like endless tit for tat combat.
But there are people that respond really well to that. Obviously, most people respond really well to that because they feel like, similar to our initial conversation, people feel like their stances, their ideas, and their beliefs are being challenged, and I got to stand up for my rights.
It just makes me sick that this is all it's all predicated on business.
It's profit
because
driven.
If video game companies wanted to stop it, they could stop it on the Gamergate shit, right? If arms manufacturers wanted to stop it, they could stop it, but they don't. They don't. They want people like having this argument about like men versus women, liberals versus conservatives. Let's create fear and strife and all these things so we can make more money off of our productization of this fear and strife.
So, on this very special episode of The Boys and I, I'd say the lesson that we've learned today is shut the fuck up and listen to somebody else. And just, get their point of view.
But Notch says you should never shut up.
Shut the fuck up and listen to somebody else, Brett.
I would say.
Why'd you use my name?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were advocating for that. I'm sorry. I don't know. It's something away from me. I don't know what's going on.
I would say stop making up fake excuses for your beliefs. Just be honest with yourself, and also keep it to yourself. And maybe be a little bit more open-minded, right?
Yeah.
If there's somebody trying to get interested in something that you're into, let them be interested. If there's somebody that's trying to, like, I don't know, challenge your status quo, also question your status quo. Always be questioning. Never just accept a status quo. If for no other reason, then that's boring. You're gonna get bored. You're gonna get bored.
No.
Like Notch, and you're gonna start tweeting bullshit, and then your life's gonna be fucked.
I want to play Assassin's Creed 16. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty tight to me.
I almost can't tell if you're being facetious or not. I feel like you would play it.
Yeah, you wrote a musical about Assassin's Creed.
You did. That's true. Link down below.
It's good. Joel's did a really good job on it.
Half on the spot and half by coercion, more than anything else.
You killed it. That's what's important, Joel.
Yeah, thank you for watching The Boys and I. We are The Boys and I. You can follow us on Twitter at The Goddamn Boys.
My name is Joel Rubin. I'm at Joel Rubin _.
Nice, dude. I'm at Hungry Hundar, and then you'll go to the page, and it'll say Ratchet Pussy Megazord upside down, and you'll know you came to the right place.
You're a coder.
I'm a coder.
Wow.
I don't know if you know this. I've been crashing the Ukraine for the last few days, so
Oh, you and me both. I'm a member of the IT department there
Oh, dude,
now.
that's so cool, dude.
Yeah,
Well, see, now you do have a career.
I do.
Yeah. And I'm your pal Jeremy. You can follow me at Danger Sharks with a Z, because I couldn't get Danger Shark. And thanks for watching. Be sure to leave us a review on iTunes if you feel so inclined, and only if it's a positive one, please. If you feel like giving us some money on Patreon,
Are we on Patreon?
let us know. No, but it's
You feel like
the
mailing
shit
an
you say?
envelope
it was
to
just a cool if
Hollywood.
someone just gave us some money for no reason.
You want to leave a package.
Do you think anybody actually made it? If you made it to this mark, I want you to leave a comment that says Patreon in the comments of the YouTube video.
Yeah.
That way I'll know if you made it to the
that's
hour and
that's
5
the
minute mark.
key.
If you strongly disagree with anything that any of us have said or all of us have said, write a letter on a self-addressed stamped envelope and just kind of fold that up and shove it right up your asshole.
Wow, Jeremy, that's the kind of non-converse. You know, let's watch the rhetoric on this podcast, Jeremy. Let's watch it.
I should be more like the Nuge and chill out my rhetoric.
That's right, dude.
Nuge.
You are like the new Jeremy.
You're being a little warm. Yeah, you have a cat scratch fever.
I should go see a doctor, except for I don't have health insurance right now.
Me either.
We swore we'd never get to politics. All right, thank you for watching. Good night. Love you.
Goodbye. I love you. I'll see you in hell.